Hey everyone, welcome back to Checkmate with Blake. Today I have another opening video for you all. We're going to be talking about the French defense, which is a very powerful opening. And the purpose behind this video, unlike most of my opening videos, is rather than focus on these really deep variations and deep lines that you must know, this opening video is designed for mostly kind of beginners and intermediate players, really just players who want to learn an opening without having to study all these variations. So in other words, if you're a great middle game player and you're tired of studying openings, you're tired of learning all these really deep variations, this opening, the French, you can just learn a few ideas and you'll be able to pretty much be prepared against anything your opponent can throw at you without having to memorize more than just a few moves in the opening. So again, I know it's been a while since I've made a video, and as you can tell from the background, everything's a little different right now. I'm in the moving process. That's the reason behind the kind of the delayed videos and kind of why there's nothing in the background. I'm kind of moving right now, but I want to get some content out to you guys. If you enjoy this video, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Again, it really helps a lot. Without any further ado, we're gonna get into it. So if you keep up with my channel, you know that I posted here recently an opening against how you play against D4, which is the King's Indian attack, or the King's Indian defense, sorry, is what I posted. And you know how you can be prepared against D4. You just learn this variation, and then basically you can play against D4 anytime you want. Now today we're going to be talking about how to play against E4. So once you learn this video, once you have these two openings, if you're a beginner specifically, you're going to know how to play against the two most popular openings, D4 and E4. So today, after the move E4, typically what you do, right, if you're learning chess, is you're taught, you want to contest the center, you want to play this move E5. Or other variations like playing such as the Sicilian, where you're contesting the center, more indirectly. But the French defense starts after this move E6. What's the point behind E6? After they take the center, which is with the move D4, which of course is the most principled because obviously you're taught you want to take the center. Now what you do is you strike back with this move D5. So now you're kind of posing a question because what you're doing, you're immediately attacking the E4 pawn. So you're already asking white, how are you going to respond to this threat, right? Because if they do nothing, of course, you're just going to capture their pawn. The three things we're going to talk about today, for example, is if they decide to push, if they decide to take, we'll briefly cover, and if they decide to go with the knight, one of these moves here. Those are the only moves to consider, of course, because if they do any random move, obviously you're just going to capture the pawn. So they have to play one of those moves. So we're already cutting out a ton of theory here by saying they have to either push or pretty much play one of these knight moves. Because as I'll show right now, if they take it, obviously this is not in their favor because, of course, here there's no real threats that white has. I mean, first of all, you have a symmetrical position because, of course, the e file is open, and there's really nothing they can do. Like even if they try this move such as c4, you have ideas here, such as for example going knight f6, because if they capture now, notice there's no pawn that can push this knight away. And there's no real threats after something like this. You can consider go ahead and taking it. You can go ahead and just develop a knight. You can develop your bishop. There's no real threats. This is not what white wants to do to try and get an advantage. So obviously they can't even really consider taking it, to be honest with you. So what are the other lines that we want to talk about? First, we'll talk about the most. Well, actually, we'll go ahead and knock out one of the other lines here too. I want to go ahead and knock this one out, knight c3, just in case you find it. And after this, we'll go into more of like the main theory. So knight c3 is designed just to protect this, and you have two options here. You can either take it or you can play this knight out. That's what I recommend. For the more advanced players, I kind of recommend going knight f6 because you're baiting them to go forward, and after they go e5, you go here and you're just going to play for this move c5. I won't go in depth with this position. If you're advanced, look into it. This is something I would consider. Of course, it's a little defensive, so it's not really my recommendation for beginners. Instead, my recommendation for beginners is actually just go ahead and capture this pawn after they take back. Although knight f6 is noticed not one of the top three moves, I recommend knight f6 because worst case scenario, they trade it, and now you have a queen out. There's no problems. White just has a slight advantage. Of course, they could always consider saying like bishop g5 to go ahead and pin the knight and threaten to double attack it. But then you just develop your bishop, and if they ever trade down, it's a very similar position. Of course, white has a very almost negligible advantage. So this is a very favorable position. So again, I wanted to cover that really quickly because it doesn't take very long to cover that. The move, though, you may face the most common is actually just to go ahead and push, and they go e5, right? They decline your attack. Here, I recommend immediately the move c5, right? Because you're attacking their center. To go ahead and summarize the main line, what you want to do is you want to try and break down this d4 pawn. If you can win this d4 pawn, of course, you're going to win this e5 pawn too, right? Because let's just say a random move. Even if they could, like, let's say that they go here to try and defend it. For example, you go knight c6. Let's just say they go back. They're still trying to defend it. Of course, at some point, you are going to win this pawn because they're going to struggle to try and actually hold it because, of course, you removed one of their key defenders. So I won't go super in depth with all this. Of course, that should be kind of obvious on how, why if you win this d4 pawn, you're typically going to win this one as well. So instead, they're going to have to go down this line where they're trying to defend it. So they're going to play this move c3. You bring this knight out, just adding more pressure to it. Usually they play this move knight f3 to further protect this pawn. And here's the key move I want you to play. I want you to play queen b6. Queen b6, notice first of all, it looks at this pawn. So if they ever bring the bishop out to try and defend this, you win this one. Likewise, you're also adding more pressure to the center, so they need to try and defend it. Now, there's two things I want to cover here just because I want you to be prepared. There's a line I don't want you to fall for. So the line that I often play as white, if you watch my speedrun videos, I think I've even played this in one of my speedrun videos, one of my first ones, is if I'm playing white here, believe it or not, I always like to play this move bishop d3, which looks like it hangs a pawn, right? It looks like, well, now black can capture here. But don't do this if you're playing black, because if you decide to keep going down this line and just capturing all the way, notice now there's this check, which checks the queen, checks the king, and also the queen is under attack. So of course, after they block, white will simply go ahead and force this check and actually win the queen. So bishop d3 is a trick move. If you're playing as black, of course, you do not want to go down this line. You don't want to lose your queen. So instead, you just got to waste one singular move. And after, for example, capturing and they capture back, now just play this move bishop d7. Okay, bishop d7 is key because now you are threatening to take it, right? So like if they play a random move, you can take it because notice there's no check here, right? So for example, you could always just go down this line and actually win a bishop. So the key move in that position is bishop d7. And even if they go and they play this all correctly, notice the top move, bishop e2, is just to retreat the bishop to go back. Castling's an option. So of course, bishop d7 is not the, bishop d3 is really not the best. I do it as kind of like a trick. It's kind of fun to play. But if you just respond with bishop d7, notice their best move is actually just go ahead and go bishop e2 to bring it back. And now what I want you to play, and I'll show this in the other variation because this is also a common idea. So if you're playing the main line, of course, you're going c5. And the other thing you're doing is you're actually bringing this knight in and you're trying to get this knight here. So like, let's just say castles, you get this knight here because you're really trying to win this pawn. There's a ton of pressure on it. Actually, notice the top move, which is knight c3, actually doesn't hold the position because, of course, you can capture the pawn already. So you're actually going to win a pawn if they go down this line. You're going to win the center pawn. And, of course, like I said, if you can win the center pawn, you're probably going to win this one too and have no issues. The other line I want to cover, though, if they're not going to go for this trick of bishop d3, they may just play bishop e2, which is actually the best move in the position. And here I simply recommend going ahead and trading down. And then I actually recommend playing this move and going for this same idea, right? Because notice castling is the most, if you're playing white here, castling is probably the most natural move. However, again, it's the wrong move. Notice castling is not a single option here. Actually, it wants like knight c3, because of course if castles, you bring in the sneaky move knight f5, and you actually just win the game already pretty much. Not win the game, but you get an advantage, I should say. Instead, though, they might go knight c3. You're still going to go knight f5. It's very similar ideas. You might find this move knight a4, and if you're playing black here, the engine recommends, which this is very deep, so I wouldn't recommend studying this. Again, the whole point of this opening is to not study all these variations, but I guess I'll show you this just to give an example. You actually go queen a5, and if they try to throw in this bishop d2 check, or blocking the check, you actually just bring in this bishop, and you have a lot of threats here, of course, right? Because if they, for example, castle, obviously what you're going to do is you're going to trade down, and actually you already are winning the center pawn, so they can't do that. And likewise, if they take, their best move is actually king f1. So obviously this is not a very easy position to play for white. All right, here we'll go back. So now that I've showed, that's like the main line. That's all you have to know. All you have to know is play this move c5, and then you have to play this move knight g to e7 and knight f5, and all of a sudden that's really all you have to know. You just have to know how to play c5 and then get this knight here to further attack it, and you're going to win a lot of games that way just by contesting the center. The last thing I want to talk about is the Tarrasch variation, which is this move that you might find where they go knight d2. And if you find this move knight d2, I recommend going for this move c5 again, just attacking the center. c5 is kind of a key idea in the French here. So I won't explain the reason behind the Tarrasch because it's a very complicated idea. I mean, obviously what it is, from a surface level, is just to capture this, and then they can capture back with the knight. But we're not doing that, right? Because what they're doing is they're not contesting the center. They're indirectly protecting their center, but they're not contesting it. So what do? It's principled to attack the center. Play this move c5. You're now threatening this pawn because notice the queen is not looking at it. A lot of times here, if we just look at some of the top lines, it recommends a trade down, which of course I've shown you in that other line we're fine with. Or if they take here, you get to capture your bishop with the tempo. So capture with the bishop with the tempo. So it's a great ideas for you too. So instead, you're typically going to find this move knight gf3, protecting the center. And here you have two options, and just two I'm just going to show you really. You can take this pawn right away, or you can consider moves like knight c6. Knight c6 is probably what I would play. If you go down this line, for example, taking it, notice it's actually the best move for them to take back with the e pawn, but a lot of times they're going to take here. You're going to bring out this knight, and even if they give this bishop b5, sorry, then you just go bishop d7 and you have a great position. Again, if they trade down ever, which it is book moves to trade down, you'll notice here, well, it actually doesn't say it's book moves, but these are actually some book ideas. You have a great position, so there's really no issues here. Likewise, though, if they capture here first, the move you actually do is, which is again the best move, is they take with the e pawn. You take with the queen just to protect this pawn, and this is as deep as I'm going to go in this theory. There's no real point to go super deep with it. For example, after the move bishop c4, you can always just drop back to queen d7, so there's no real threats here. We'll go back again. Like I said, the other idea is just knight c6. You have no real issues. If they take here, you'll capture back, and you're just adding more pressure to this pawn here. For example, the best move is to take with the e pawn. The second best move is to take with the d pawn. If they take here, obviously you're just going to take back and get your bishop in the game. So those are all you have to know. So I just want you to kind of, as a quick recap, we'll go back a little bit. Their only reasonable moves, because I showed you taking is not good. Only reasonable move is to push the pawn or to bring out the knights to one of these squares. So all you have to know is these three lines, really, and you can play the French defense. The French defense is very solid. The French defense is a great opening. It gives you a very solid position, and you just cut most of the theory out. There's not really many great variations that crush the French defense. It's been played forever. It's one of the oldest and one of the strongest openings. The engine loves the French defense, too. So go ahead and give this opening a try, especially if you're a beginner. You cut out all variations, you cut out all theory, and all you have to know is these three lines. That's not very much to know. So I hope you guys found this video pretty helpful. I hope it was enjoyable. Go try the French defense. Let me know how it goes. And if you're looking to play against d4, go watch my Queen's Gambit, or sorry, not the Queen's Gambit, the King's Indian defense video. Again, now after watching this video, you know how to play against d4, and you know how to play against e4. So you're pretty well prepared against anything your opponent could play. So if you're a beginner, you now have a complete repertoire against d4 and e4. If you found this video enjoyable and you find it helpful, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow a lot. Thank you guys for watching. Again, I'm sorry with all this moving process, not having videos out and having, a weird background, but again, it won't be much longer and we'll have everything set up as usual. Again, thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video.